The bartender warned me not to look into the mirrors after midnight. I wish I had listened. My name is Jade Monroe. I am 27 years old. I have been investigating disappearances in Chicago's underground club scene for 5 years now, ever since my brother Marcus vanished after a party in 2019. They found his phone 3 blocks away from some nameless club, battery dead. No fingerprints, except his own. The police closed the case after 6 months, said he probably just left town, started over somewhere else. But I knew Marcus. He would never leave without telling me. We were all each other had after our parents died. So I became the person who hunts these stories, the journalist who goes where others won't, into the basements, into the spaces between the legal and illegal, into the darkness that swallows people whole. 3 weeks ago, I received an anonymous tip about Club Epitaph, a place that exists only by invitation, no social media presence, no official address, just whispers and rumors in the right circles. The tip came with a single photo, a black and white image of a basement filled with mirrors. At the bottom, someone had written, "Your brother was here." What I found in that basement changed everything I thought I knew about the night my brother disappeared. This is not just another missing person case. This is something that challenges the very nature of reality itself. If you are watching this, please subscribe and hit the bell notification. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what time you are watching and from which city. I need to know this story reaches as many people as possible, because what happened at Club Epitaph is still happening, and I might be the only one who can stop it. I spent 2 weeks tracking down the location. Club Epitaph operates in the basement of an abandoned office building on West Randolph Street. The building itself looks dead from the outside, broken windows, graffiti covering the lower floors, but if you know where to look, you can see the signs of life. The elevator on the 3rd floor still works. It goes down to a basement level that does not appear on any city blueprints. Getting an invitation took another week. I had to convince a contact in the music industry that I was writing a piece about underground venues. Not entirely a lie, just not the whole truth. The invitation arrived as a text message from an unknown number. No words, just coordinates. And a time, midnight, on a Tuesday. I arrived at 11:45. The building was dark, except for a single red light glowing in a 3rd floor window. I found the elevator exactly where my contact said it would be. The button for the basement was unmarked, just a small mirror embedded in the wall where the button should be. I pressed the mirror. The elevator descended. The doors opened to reveal a corridor lined with black mirrors. Each one reflected the red light from overhead fixtures. The effect was disorienting, like walking through a kaleidoscope made of blood.
The end of the corridor. I could hear music, not the typical club music you might expect. This was deeper, more primal, the kind of sound that vibrates in your chest and makes your teeth ache.
I followed the sound to a heavy door marked only with a small brass plaque, Epitaph, in elegant script. The door opened before I could knock. The man who answered the door was tall and thin, probably in his 50s, but his face had an ageless quality that made it hard to be certain. His eyes were the color of old silver. His smile was perfect, too perfect. "Miss Monroe," he said, extending his hand, "I have been expecting you." I had not given my real name to get the invitation. I was using an alias, Sarah Chen, complete with fake credentials and a burner phone. "How do you know who I am?" I asked. "I know everyone who enters my establishment," he replied. "Please come in. I am Vincent Ashford, Welcome to Club Epitaph. The main room was larger than I expected. The ceiling was low and painted black. The walls were covered with mirrors of different sizes. Some were antique, others looked modern. All of them reflected the pulsing red light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The music was louder here. I could feel it in my bones. About 30 people were scattered throughout the space, some dancing, some sitting in small groups. All of them looked like they were in some kind of trance. "Your brother visited us several times," Vincent said, leading me to a quiet corner. "He was very interested in our mirrors." My blood went cold. "You knew Marcus?" "I know everyone who has ever been here," Vincent replied. "Would you like to see where he spent his last evening?"
I wanted to run. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to leave, but I needed answers. I needed to know what happened to my brother.
"Show me," I said. Vincent smiled. His teeth were too white, too sharp. He led me to a section of the club I had not noticed before. The mirrors here were different, older. The glass was darker and seemed to ripple like water when you looked directly at it.
"This is our VIP area," Vincent explained, "for guests who want a more immersive experience."
In the center of the space was a single chair facing the largest mirror. The glass was so dark it looked almost black, but there was something moving inside it, something that made my eyes water when I tried to focus on it. "Marcus sat in that chair for hours," Vincent said, just staring into the mirror. He said he could see things, people, places that were not quite here. I pulled out my phone to take a picture, but the screen showed only static.
"Electronic devices do not work well in this room," Vincent explained. "The mirrors interfere with the signals."
I looked around the VIP area. There were other chairs, other mirrors, but they were all empty, except for one. In the corner, a young woman sat perfectly still. Her eyes were fixed on her reflection. She had been sitting there since I arrived. She had not moved once. "How long has she been there?" I asked. Vincent checked his watch. "About 4 hours. She should be ready soon." "Ready for what?" Before Vincent could answer, something happened that made my blood freeze. The woman in the corner stood up, but her reflection remained seated. I blinked hard, rubbed my eyes, but when I looked again, the woman was walking toward us, while her reflection stayed in the chair. "Excellent," Vincent said. "Another successful transition." The woman walked past us without acknowledging our presence. Her eyes were completely black, not just the pupils, the entire eye, and when she moved, there was no sound, no footsteps, no breathing. I looked back at the mirror. The reflection was still there, still sitting in the chair, but now it was moving, pounding on the glass from the inside. Its mouth was open in a silent scream. "What the hell is happening here?" I whispered. Vincent placed a hand on my shoulder. His touch was ice cold. "Your brother asked the same question," he said, right before he decided to join us permanently. I left the club at 3 in the morning. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely start my car. What I had seen was impossible. Mirrors do not work that way. People do not have independent reflections, but I had seen it. I had documentation, not photos, but notes, detailed observations, written in my own handwriting. I drove straight to my apartment and started researching. If Club Epitaph was real, there had to be other evidence, other witnesses, other disappearances. I found the first connection in the Chicago Tribune archives, a small article from 2018 about a missing person case. 23-year-old Elena Vasquez, last seen leaving a club In the West Loop, the article mentioned that she had been acting strangely in the weeks before her disappearance, talking about mirrors and reflections that moved on their own. The second connection was a police report from 2020. David Kim, age 29, disappeared after telling friends he was going to a special party in an abandoned building. His phone was found 3 blocks away, no fingerprints except his own. The pattern was becoming clear. Young people disappearing after visiting underground venues, all of them talking about mirrors before they vanished. Besides, I called the detective who had handled David Kim's case, Detective Sarah Martinez. She agreed to meet me at a coffee shop in Lincoln Park. I remember that case, she said when I showed her my notes. Kids seemed normal. Good job. Close family. No reason to just disappear. Did he mention anything about mirrors? I asked. Detective Martinez frowned. How did you know about that? His sister said he had been acting paranoid, covering up all the mirrors in his apartment, said they were watching him. Did you investigate the club angle? We tried, but we could never find the place he was talking about. No permits, no business license, nothing on record. I pulled out my phone and showed her the coordinates I had received. This is where I went last night, I said. The building at West Randolph Street. Detective Martinez copied down the address. I will have patrol cars. Check it out. But when she called me the next day, she had disappointing news. We searched the building top to bottom, she said. Nothing, just empty offices and storage rooms. No elevator to a basement level.
That's impossible. I was there.
Look, Miss Monroe, I believe you saw something, but whatever it was not in that building. I hung up and drove back to West Randolph Street. In the daylight, the building looked exactly as Detective Martinez had described. Empty, abandoned, dead. But I knew what I had seen. And I knew how to prove it. I would go back to Club Epitaph. This time, with better preparation. I spent 3 days preparing for my return visit. I bought a vintage film camera. If electronic devices did not work in the club, maybe analog technology would. I also researched the history of the building on West Randolph Street. The building was constructed in 1972. Standard office space. Nothing unusual in its history, except for one detail. The basement level had been sealed off in 1995 after a series of accidents. According to city records, 3 construction workers had died during renovation work in the basement. All 3 were found in front of mirrors that had been installed for a restaurant that never opened. The official cause of death was listed as cardiac arrest, but witness statements mentioned that the workers had been acting strangely before their deaths, talking to their own reflections, arguing with people who were not there. After the deaths, the basement was sealed with concrete. The elevator was disconnected. The building was sold to a series of shell companies that never used the space, but somehow Vincent Ashford had found a way inside. I returned to the building on Thursday night. This time, I brought backup Chom Chen, a photographer who specialized in urban exploration. He had no idea what we were really investigating. I told him we were documenting abandoned buildings for a story about urban decay. The elevator was working again. The mirror button was in the same place, but when I pressed it, nothing happened. Try again, Tom suggested. I pressed the mirror a second time. The elevator descended, but when the doors opened, the corridor was different. The mirrors were the same, but the red light was dimmer, and there was a smell. Something sweet and rotten, like flowers, left too long in stagnant water. This is incredible, Tom whispered, raising his camera. The lighting is perfect. But when he tried to take a picture, the camera would not work. The shutter mechanism was frozen. Equipment malfunction, he said. Let me try a different lens, while Tom worked on his camera. I studied the mirrors more carefully. In the dim light, I could see that some of them contained images, not reflections, actual images of people and places. In one mirror, I saw a young woman sitting in what looked like a prison cell. She was wearing modern clothing, but the cell was old, stone walls, iron bars. She was looking directly at me, mouthing the word help. In another mirror, I saw a man running through a forest. He was looking over his shoulder, terrified. Behind him, something was following, something that looked like him but was not quite right. Jade, Tom said quietly, I think we should leave.
I turned to look at him.
His face was pale, his hands were shaking.
What's wrong?
The mirrors, he said. They're showing me things that are not there. I looked at the mirror behind him. In it, I could see Tom's reflection. But the reflection was different, older, scarred, and it was smiling, while the real Tom was terrified. We need to go, I said, now. But when we turned to leave, the elevator was gone. In its place was a solid wall, covered with mirrors. We were trapped. The corridor had changed. While we were looking at the mirrors, it was longer now. The red light was brighter, and there were more mirrors.
Dozens of them, all showing different scenes, different people, different places.
This is not possible, Tom whispered. Buildings do not change shape. But I was beginning to understand this was not really a building, not in any conventional sense. This was something else, something that existed in the spaces between reality and reflection. We walked deeper into the corridor. The mirrors became more disturbing. I saw people trapped in glass prisons. I saw creatures that looked human, but moved in ways that hurt to watch. I saw my brother Marcus. He was sitting in a chair in what looked like a doctor's office, but the doctor was not human. It had too many arms, too many eyes, and it was doing something to Marcus that made him scream without making any sound. Marcus, I whispered, touching the glass. The mirror rippled like water. Marcus looked up. He saw me. He pressed his hand against the glass from the inside. Help me, he mouthed. But before I could respond, Vincent Ashford appeared behind us. I was wondering when you would return, he said. Most people only visit once. What is this place? I demanded. What did you do to my brother?
Oh, Vincent smiled. I did not do anything to your brother. He made a choice, just as you will make a choice.
What kind of choice? The same choice everyone makes when they come here, to remain yourself, or to become something better. Tom was backing away from us. Jade, this guy is insane. We need to find a way out. There is no way out, Vincent said calmly. Not until you understand what you are dealing with. He gestured to the mirrors around us. These are not just reflections. They are windows, doorways, prisons, all depending on your perspective. Windows to where? To the spaces between worlds, the places where things that are not quite real live and wait. Vincent walked to one of the mirrors. His reflection appeared normally, but then it stepped out of the glass. Now there were two Vincent Ashfords, one in front of the mirror, one behind it. I discovered this place in 1995. The original Vincent said, I was one of the construction workers who died in the basement, but I did not really die. I just changed. The Vincent behind the mirror smiled. We are not human anymore. We are something that exists in both worlds. The world of flesh and the world of reflection. What do you want from us? I asked. Nothing you are not willing to give, the original Vincent replied. Your brother wanted to find answers. We gave him answers, more answers than any human mind can process. And now he is part of the collection, part of the great work. Vincent gestured to all the mirrors around us. Every reflection you see here is someone who made the choice to transcend their human limitations. They are not dead. They are not alive. They are something new. Tom grabbed my arm. Jade, we need to run. But there was nowhere to run. The corridor stretched infinitely in both directions. The mirrors lined every surface, and in every mirror I could see people trapped inside, people who had made Vincent's choice. What happens if we refuse? I asked. Vincent's smile faded. Then you join them anyway, but without the benefits of willing participation. Behind him, the Vincent in the mirror was reaching through the glass. His hand was becoming solid, real. Choose quickly, Vincent said. My patience has limits. I had one advantage that Vincent did not know about. While researching the building's history, I had found the original construction blueprints, including the location of an emergency exit from the basement level, an exit that had been sealed but might still be accessible. The exit was supposed to be behind the largest mirror in the corridor, the one that showed the most disturbing images.
I needed to create a distraction.
I want to see my brother again, I said, before I make my choice.
Vincent nodded.
Of course, family reunions are always touching. He led us to a section of the corridor where the mirrors were darker. The glass was so black, it looked like pools of oil. Marcus is in there, Vincent said, pointing to the largest mirror. He is quite comfortable. He has everything he needs. In the mirror, I could see Marcus sitting in what looked like a laboratory, but he was not alone. There were dozens of other people, all of them sitting perfectly still, all of them staring at nothing. They are processing their new existence, Vincent explained, learning to exist in both worlds simultaneously. While Vincent was talking, I motioned for Tom to move toward the mirror. I needed him to be ready. How do I join them? I asked. Simply look into the mirror. Focus on your reflection. Let it become real. When I approached the mirror, my reflection appeared normally at first, but then it began to change. The reflection started moving independently, gesturing for me to come closer. This was my chance! Instead of focusing on my reflection, I focused on the mirror itself, looking for signs of the hidden exit. The original blueprints showed a door directly behind this wall. I could see it, a faint outline in the mirror's surface. The door was still there.
Tom, I said quietly, when I count to 3, cover your eyes and run toward the mirror.
What? Trust me. I picked up a piece of broken glass from the floor. It was sharp enough to cut. 1. I raised the glass above my head.
2. Vincent realized what I was planning. Stop. You do not understand what you are doing.
3. I drove the glass into the mirror's surface. The glass cracked, then shattered. Behind it, I could see the emergency exit, still sealed, but accessible. The breaking mirror created a sound like screaming. All the other mirrors in the corridor began to crack as well. The images inside them became distorted, chaotic. Run, I shouted. Tom and I threw ourselves through the broken mirror. The sealed door was old and weak. It broke open under our combined weight. We found ourselves in a narrow tunnel. It was dark and smelled of mold and decay, but it was real, solid. not part of Vincent's nightmare world. Behind us, we could hear Vincent shouting, "You have made a terrible mistake. They will never let you leave." We ran through the tunnel. It seemed to go on forever, but eventually, we saw light ahead. We emerged through a grate in an alley, 3 blocks from the building.
We were free.
But as we climbed out of the tunnel, I looked back. In the reflection of a puddle on the ground, I could see Vincent's face. He was smiling. "This is not over," he said. "You have seen too much. You know too much." The reflection faded, but I knew he was right. This was not over. The next morning, I called Detective Martinez. I told her everything. The mirrors, Vincent Ashford, the trapped people, my brother Marcus. "I believe you saw something," she said, "but what you are describing is not possible. Not in the real world." "Then explain this," I said, showing her my photographs. I had managed to take several pictures with my film camera before the mirror shattered. The images showed the corridor of mirrors, the trapped people, Vincent himself. Detective Martinez studied the photos carefully. "These could be manipulated, digital effects. They are film photographs, developed in a dark room. Then they are elaborate hoaxes." But I could see doubt in her eyes. She wanted to believe me. She just could not reconcile what I was telling her with her understanding of reality. "Give me 48 hours, she said. "Let me do some research, check some databases." While Detective Martinez worked her sources, I continued my own investigation, trying to find other survivors, other people who had encountered Vincent and his mirrors. I found them through online forums, people who shared stories about strange experiences in abandoned buildings. Most of their stories were dismissed as urban legends or drug-induced hallucinations, but the details were consistent. Mirrors that showed impossible things, people who existed in reflections, but not in reality. A tall man with silver eyes who offered choices that were not really choices. I arranged to meet with 3 of these people. Sarah Kim, who had lost her boyfriend to a mirror in an abandoned warehouse. Michael Torres, who claimed his sister had been replaced by her reflection. And Elena Vasquez, who was supposed to be dead but was very much alive. We met at a coffee shop in Lincoln Park. Elena was the first to speak. "I was in that place," she said. "The basement with the mirrors. I saw things that should not exist." "How did you escape?" I asked. "I did not escape. I was released." Elena pulled back her sleeve. On her wrist was a small scar, in the shape of a mirror. "He marked me," she said. "Vincent, he said I was a messenger, someone who would bring others to him." Sarah Kim showed me a similar scar. So did Michael Torres. "We are all marked," Sarah said. "We all carry his invitation." I checked my own wrist. There was no scar, but there was something else. A small tattoo that had not been there before. It looked like a door. "You are different," Elena said. "You actually fought back. You broke one of his mirrors. Does that mean I am free?" "It means you are dangerous to him, to his collection." Elena leaned closer. "Vincent is not human. He is something that exists between worlds. He feeds on the boundary between reality and reflection, but he needs willing participants, people who choose to cross over."
Why?
"Because unwilling participants become unstable. They fight against their new existence. They try to return to the real world." Michael Torres nodded. "My sister is still fighting. I can see her in mirrors sometimes. She looks terrified." "Can we help them?" I asked. "There is a way," Elena said, "but it is dangerous. We would have to go back." "Go back where?" "To the source. The original mirror, the one that started it all. Sarah Kim pulled out a folder filled with newspaper clippings and photographs. I have been researching Vincent's history before he became what he is now. The photographs showed a man who looked exactly like Vincent, but they were from different time periods. One from the 1920s, one from the 1930s, one from the 1970s. He is not just using mirrors, Sarah explained. He is the mirror, the thing that lives in reflections. How do we stop him? We break the original mirror, the one that gave him his power. Elena shook her head. That mirror is not in the basement. It is somewhere else, somewhere older. Where? The place where he first died. The place where he first became what he is now. The research took us to the Chicago History Museum. In the archives, we found records of a house that had burned down in 1923, the Morrison Estate on North Lake Shore Drive. According to the newspaper reports, the fire had started in the basement. 7 people had died, including the owner, Vincent Morrison. Their bodies were found in front of a large antique mirror. The mirror itself was undamaged by the fire. After the fire, the mirror was moved to storage. It changed hands several times over the decades. In 1995, it was installed in the basement of the building on West Randolph Street as part of a restaurant renovation project. That was when Vincent returned, when he discovered he could use the mirror to access the space between worlds. The mirror was now in a private collection, owned by a man named James Hartwell. He lived in a mansion in Lake Forest. He collected antique mirrors and had no idea what he actually possessed. We drove to Lake Forest on a Sunday afternoon. The mansion was impressive. Victorian architecture with modern security systems, but James Hartwell was surprisingly accessible. The Morrison mirror, he said when we explained what we were looking for. Beautiful piece. 18th century craftsmanship. I keep it in my private study. He led us to a room lined with mirrors of all sizes and styles. But the Morrison mirror was unmistakable. It was 8 feet tall and framed in black wood. The glass was so clear, it looked like air. I bought it at an estate sale in 1996, Hartwell explained. The previous owner could not get rid of it fast enough, said it gave him nightmares. I approached the mirror carefully. My reflection appeared normally, but there was something wrong with the glass itself. It was too perfect, too clear, like it was not really there. Has anything unusual ever happened with this mirror? I asked.
Hartwell frowned. Well, there was one incident about 5 years ago. I found a young man in this room. He was talking to the mirror, arguing with his own reflection. My blood went cold.
What did this man look like? Tall, dark hair, early 20s. He said he was a journalist looking for someone. Marcus, I whispered. Do you know him? He was my brother. Hartwell's expression became sympathetic. Oh, I am sorry. After I found him here, he became agitated, said the mirror was trying to take him. I called the police, but by the time they arrived, he was gone. And you never saw him again?
No, but sometimes, late at night, I think I see him in the mirror, just standing there, watching.
But I looked at the mirror again. In the reflection, I could see the room normally, but there was something else. A shadow that did not belong to anyone in the room. We need to destroy this mirror, I said. Hartwell looked shocked. Destroy it? But it is priceless. A genuine antique. It is also dangerous. People have died because of this mirror.
That is ridiculous. It is just a piece of glass.
But even as he said it, I could see doubt in his eyes. He knew something was wrong with the mirror. He had always known. Sarah Kim pulled out a hammer she had brought from her car. We can do this. The easy way, or the hard way. Hartwell stepped back. Wait, if you must destroy it, at least let me document it first, for insurance purposes. He pulled out his phone and started taking pictures, but the images on his screen showed only static. My phone is not working, he said. Electronic devices do not work around the mirror, I explained. It interferes with the signals. Hartwell was beginning to understand. What exactly is this thing? It is a doorway, Elena said. A portal between worlds, and something is using it to collect people. In the mirror, the shadow was becoming clearer. It was the shape of a man, a tall man, with silver eyes. Vincent was coming through. Chapter 9. The final confrontation. The mirror began to ripple like water. The shadow behind the glass was becoming solid. Vincent was crossing over into the real world. Everyone get back, I shouted, but it was too late. Vincent's hand emerged from the mirror, then his arm, then his entire body. He looked exactly as he had in the basement, tall, thin, ageless. But here in the real world, he seemed somehow diminished, less substantial. You have caused me considerable inconvenience, he said calmly, breaking my mirror, disrupting my collection. Let my brother go, I demanded. Your brother is exactly where he chose to be. He sought answers. I gave him answers. Vincent gestured to the mirror. In it, I could see the basement laboratory again. Marcus was still there, still sitting perfectly still, but now he was looking directly at us. He can see us, I realized. Of course he can see us. He exists in both worlds now, the world of flesh and the world of reflection. Sarah Kim raised the hammer, stopped talking, and started running. She brought the hammer down on the mirror's surface, but instead of shattering, the glass rippled. The impact sent shockwaves through the room. All the other mirrors began to crack. You cannot destroy what does not truly exist, Vincent said. The mirror is not the source of my power. It is merely a focus. Then what is the source? I asked. Vincent smiled. The people who choose to cross over. Every willing participant makes me stronger. Every soul that accepts the reflection as reality feeds my existence. What if they change their minds? Then they discover that some choices cannot be undone. But I had an idea. If Vincent's power came from willing participants, maybe it could be weakened by unwilling ones. Marcus, I called out to the mirror. Can you hear me? In the reflection, Marcus nodded. Do you want to come home? Marcus stood up. For the first time in 5 years, he was moving on his own. He cannot leave, Vincent said. He has been part of the collection for too long. But Marcus was walking toward the mirror, toward us. Other people in the laboratory were standing up as well. They were all moving toward the mirror. No, Vincent said. Return to your places. You chose this existence. But they were not listening. They were all pressing against the glass from the inside, trying to break through. The mirror began to crack, not from Sarah's hammer, but from the pressure of all the people trying to escape. This is impossible, Vincent said. They cannot all reject the new existence simultaneously. They are not rejecting it, I realized. They are choosing something else. The mirror shattered. Glass fell like rain, but instead of cutting us, each piece dissolved before it hit the ground. Vincent screamed. Not a human scream, but the sound of breaking glass amplified 1,000 times. He began to fade, becoming translucent, losing his hold on the real world. This is not over, he said. There are other mirrors, other doorways, other collectors.
Maybe, I said, but you will not be one of them.
Vincent dissolved completely. The remaining glass in the mirror frame turned to dust. In the silence that followed, I heard footsteps. I turned around. Marcus was standing behind me. Real, solid, alive. "Jade," he said, "I have been trying to get back to you for so long." Marcus spent 3 days in the hospital. Physically, he was fine, but psychologically, he had been changed by his experience in Vincent's world. He had memories of things that should not exist, knowledge of places that were not quite real.
I remember everything, he told me. Every day I spent in that place, it felt like years. But it was also like no time at all.
What was it like? Like being trapped in a dream you cannot wake up from, except the dream is someone else's nightmare. Marcus was not the only one who had returned. Dozens of people had emerged from the shattered mirror. All of them had similar stories. All of them had been trapped in Vincent's collection. Detective Martinez was forced to reopen several missing person cases. The official explanation was that the missing people had been held captive by an unknown group. The mirror story was classified as a shared delusion caused by psychological trauma, but I knew the truth, and so did the other survivors. Elena Vasquez started a support group for people who had encountered Vincent and his mirrors. We meet once a month at a community center in Lincoln Park. We share our experiences. We help each other cope with the knowledge that reality is not as solid as most people believe. Sarah Kim became a researcher. She tracks down other mirrors, like the Morrison mirror, objects that might be doorways to other worlds. She works with museums and private collectors to identify and neutralize these artifacts. Michael Torres reconnected with his sister. She had returned when Vincent was destroyed. Like the others, she was changed, but alive. As for me, I continued my work as a journalist, but now I focus on stories that others dismiss as impossible: urban legends, supernatural encounters, things that exist in the spaces between the real and the unreal. Because I learned something important from my experience with Vincent and his mirrors, the world is full of doorways. Some lead to places we want to go. Others lead to places we never want to see. But all of them require a choice. The choice to cross over. The choice to accept what lies on the other side. And sometimes, the choice to find your way back home. The basement on West Randolph Street is still there. The building is still abandoned. But if you know where to look, you can still find traces of what used to exist there. Sometimes, late at night, people report seeing red light glowing in the windows. Sometimes, they hear music coming from underground, the same deep, primal sound that used to fill Club Epitaph. But the club itself is gone. Vincent's collection has been scattered. The mirrors have been broken. However, I have learned that Vincent was not unique. There are others, like him, other collectors, who exist in the spaces between worlds, other predators who feed on the boundary between reality and reflection. Just last week, I received a message from someone in Detroit. They described a nightclub that appears only on certain nights, a place where the DJ never shows his face, where the music seems to come from inside your own head. The message included a single photograph, a dark room filled with mirrors. At the bottom, someone had written, "They are collecting again."
I am preparing for another investigation, another journey into the spaces between worlds, because someone has to document these places. Someone has to warn others about what exists in the shadows.
Someone has to make sure that what happened to Marcus, to Elena, to all of Vincent's victims, never happens again.
The scar on my wrist never faded. It is still there, shaped like a door, a reminder of the choice I made, the choice to fight back, the choice to break the mirror instead of walking through it.
Marcus carries his own scars, not visible ones, but deeper marks, the knowledge of what lies beyond the glass, the memory of years spent in a place that should not exist. But we are alive, we are free, and we are together.
That is what matters.
The mirrors are gone, but the doorways remain. They always will, because the human mind needs boundaries. It needs to believe that the world makes sense, that reality is solid and predictable. But sometimes, late at night, when you catch your reflection in a dark window, you might see something that is not quite right, a shadow that does not belong to you, a movement that happens a split second after your own. When that happens, remember my story, remember Vincent Ashford and Club Epitaph. Remember that some reflections are not reflections at all.
They are windows, and something is always watching from the other side.
If you found this story compelling, please share it with others. Leave a comment about what time you watched and from which city. Subscribe to hear more stories about the spaces between worlds. Because these stories are not just entertainment, they are warnings. They are documentation of things that exist, whether we believe in them or not, and they are proof that sometimes the most important choice you can make is the choice to look away from the mirror. Thank you for listening, and remember, never trust a reflection that moves on its own.